Buddy, this thing with us isn't working anymore. I think I have to let you go.
What? Why?
It's the boozing. You're out of control.
But Jimmy, I told you that I'm done with the drinking. No more booze.
Well, how can I believe you, buddy? Come on.
I found something else to plunge into. I started to play the piano.
Yeah, right. Wow, I'm really impressed.
See? Told you so. Yeah.
Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage.
And I'm Deniz, the Buddymeister.
We have reviewed more than 350 Indian movies on the channel, and today's one was once again picked directly for us by one of our awesome Masala tier supporters. Binoy Mohammed has chosen the 1983 Malayalam language drama Koodevide.
Koodevide, which can be translated as Where is Your Nest, was written and directed by P. Padmarajan and is loosely based on a Tamil novel by Vasanthi. It was our third film by P. Padmarajan. We already covered Tuvana Tumbikal and Munam Pakam in the past.
The story of Koodevide revolves around Alice, played by Suhasini, a teacher at a boarding school in Uti, and the supposedly unruly student Ravi, played by Raman, who joins her class. Alice manages to mentor him into a good student, and they become very good friends. But Alice's boyfriend, Captain Thomas, played by Mammootty, doesn't like that at all.
Did you know that Mammootty appeared in 35 movies in 1983?
No. Did you know that we have actually seen Raman before? He played the lead role in Duruvangal Patnare, one of the first Indian movies that we have watched and reviewed.
What?
I'm telling you, Koodevide was his debut.
Okay, cool. Well, I thought he was doing a great job.
I have to say that I was quite impressed by the film. It starts out as this very chill, rather light-hearted slice of life film about life at a boarding school, only to slowly shape its actual story, which is much darker and, for an Indian film that's almost 40 years old, quite progressive.
I agree. The movie invests a lot of time in its world building. We get to know the boarding school, the military, the countryside. There's music all the time. It feels comfortable and chill, and it's just very pleasant. It's almost like a college comedy, and there's practically no real drama happening in the first 50 minutes.
Now, it's almost 40 years old, so I think it's fair to go into some spoilers. We won't give away the ending, but I definitely want to get to the film's core, which is also already in the short synopsis on IMDb, where it says, Captain Thomas feels intensely jealous of the attention Alice bestows upon Ravi.
And that jealousy gets really, really ugly. And at its heart, Koodevide is very much a film about toxic masculinity. And because you never quite know, especially with movies of that era, I was rather anxious until the very end if the movie was going to redeem or justify Thomas' terrible behavior somehow, but fortunately it doesn't.
The movie presents us with two male characters, and I think both are prejudged by their status. People assume Ravi is a troublemaker, and he probably has been to some degree, but that doesn't mean that he can't be a nice guy too. And Thomas has a good job at the police or military, and he's respected and appears to be very kind. But he's the one who has a bad side to him.
The movie is very subtle in the depiction of their characteristics. More than once I was asking myself, what is going on here? Is Ravi really such a rascal? Is Thomas a nice guy I want to hang out with? How the connection between these characters, this triangle, develops is really fascinating. It's slowly but surely getting uncomfortable and awkward.
Absolutely. The film casually throws in the usual small misdemeanors or potential misdemeanors. How Thomas is joking about his drinking habits. Something that we have seen countless times in Indian movies. So often it is just brushed off as something not that bad or dangerous. And so I was positively surprised that the movie was instead showing that these things can be dangerous. That someone like Thomas can be threatening. And that it's not harmless and especially not romantic.
Thomas has a serious problem and he's losing control over himself. He's very possessive and openly threatens both Alice and Ravi. There's this great first-person shot later on where the movie almost becomes a horror movie in which Thomas is looking for what he thinks belongs to him.
It's always great to see Mammootty play these darker roles. He's great as the hero type, but he's also really strong when he can shift his charisma and presence towards these troubled individuals.
Thomas is a devious person. How he steers debates in the direction he wants to ultimately get what he wants is, yes, devious. And he of course doesn't shy away from making Alice feel bad.
He also tries to sell himself as this Christian who is startled by the fact that Alice hesitates to marry him. But it doesn't matter if he's a Christian or a policeman when his actions speak a different language.
It's nice to see a movie where the female character takes control of the situation, even if it's quite dangerous. But Alice doesn't fall for his excuses and is genuinely afraid about this side of his personality that she didn't know existed before. And she more or less forbids him to talk about Ravi and her.
Suhasini is really great as Alice, and it was only later that I found out that she not only married Mani Ratnam in 1988, but that she's a super versatile and successful artist herself, having worked as an actress, director, producer and writer, mostly in the Tamil film industry.
Great. Now I've got nothing left for the trivia section at the end. You're killing me, man.
Sorry. Anyway, as much as I enjoyed Mammootty's performance and how interesting the character and dynamic got with Thomas, I unfortunately think that Ravi becomes a bit too bland. He was a more interesting character in the beginning when there was still more potential for some fun stuff at the school, but as he progressed into this misunderstood, sensitive soul who has lost his mother, he became much shallower. But I also think this slight melodrama is completely in line with the times when the movie came out, and Rahman actually did win the Kerala State Film Award for second best actor in that year.
The conflict between Thomas and Ravi escalates completely towards the end. Thomas more or less loses his mind, and when they by chance meet on the cemetery, the stage is set for a great showdown.
Yeah, the ultimate climax, the chase between Thomas and Ravi, is also quite intense at first. But then I think it becomes a bit silly and too unrealistic. But this is also once again something that can probably be excused considering the movie's age.
Maybe, but there literally would have been countless other possibilities to bring this feud between Thomas and Ravi to a more satisfying end.
Well, there actually are some other things that bothered me more. For my own personal taste, the movie is way too long. But again, I of course know that the runtime and slow pacing was totally what people were used to and wanted to see at that time. But I don't really see the necessity to draw out so many scenes. For example, the whole funeral proceedings, they take forever.
Yeah, you could have easily cut like 20 minutes or so, but I'm pretty sure that some people will comment about how we don't get all the emotion behind the characters and all that. One thing that really helped elevate these emotions and the drama though was the music. It's terrific.
I agree, there are two nice songs in this movie, but unfortunately we had no English subtitles for them. But like you, it's the background score that I enjoyed a lot. Johnson has composed music that really adds some personality to the story.
In some ways, it reminded me of Ennio Morricone's composing style to underscore a rather dramatic scene with a kind of bittersweet melody. This disparity creates something special and it works wonders in many scenes in this movie.
So, what would we say in German about Koodevide?
Koodevide ist ein faszinierender Film, der aus heutiger Sicht auch als sehr progressiv bezeichnet werden kann. Zwar hat die Story und ihre Umsetzung durchaus ihre Schwächen, die subtile Erzählweise und die tollen Darsteller gleichen das aber größtenteils wieder aus.
I give Koodevide 7 out of 10. It's more like 7.1, but I don't do that.
For me, it's 6 out of 10. It's more like 6.4, but I don't do that either. Did you know that there are about 6 million car crashes in the USA per year, and that 5% or less can be ascribed to brake failure?
That's a lot actually. So, what are your thoughts about Koodevide? Leave a comment. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Letterboxd and also on Patreon, simply at the Jimmy Cage.
And you can hit me up on Twitter at the Buddymeister.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like.
And make sure you hit that bell for all we have to tell.